I think everyone's personal right to speak out about certain issues, I think that's a choice. The issue that I have is when someone interferes with you being able to make that choice. When someone says because you shouldn't say this or you might go to jail, or you shouldn't say this because you might get killed or something, something like that. I think your right to freedom of speech is also an inherent right, which is something that should be free-flowing and not restricted by any law or politician or government or societal principle. So that's the issue I have. I think if you want to say something, you should be allowed to. If you don't want to say something, you should be allowed to, but nobody should tell you you have to do one or the other, or you can't do one or the other. The theme behind the blog, it's Free Speech Jamaica, of course, and it deals a lot with libel law reform and defamation reform in Jamaica. And I actually was exposed to the subject last year while I was still a law student. I wrote a thesis paper on it about the state of Jamaica's libel laws and I strongly believe that some changes need to be made because a lot of the laws are very archaic. First thing, and I think even the Prime Minister has said in front of Parliament that this needs to be changed, is that in Jamaica, defamation is still a criminal offense. That means that someone can go to jail for ruining another person's reputation, even with true statements. I thought that was sort of but that comes from the days where your reputation is more important than anything, like English nobility, from 80 or so years ago. And so for that to be in the book still, and someone can still actually go to jail. I think the last person it was used on was Marcus Garvey and somebody else around that time. But I don't think making it a criminal offense, it shouldn't still be in the laws. Other things is that what I find is that because our libel laws are so restrictive here in Jamaica, the media companies tend to want to censor themselves, because really if they go to court, and I know not everyone is as legal minded, but what happens is when a newspaper or so goes to court, they have the burden of showing that the stories that they produce are true. And so if they don't have all documented paperwork, or they don't have enough evidence that in case they get sued, they'll be able to defend themselves in court, a lot of stories they won't produce or they won't publish, which is quite sad, because I think in any government, the media has a responsibility to do sort of investigative journalism. They're the people that you rely on to let you know what's really going on in the government and what's really going on with your leaders. And so if they're scared to do that because they're scared to spend all this money in court, or they're scared that they're going to be sued, then I think the people, you and I, will suffer. And so so those are the most alarming things to me in my research and so forth. For the last month or so, I've been moderating this blog and posting articles, so I hope people read it, and really trying to get the word out and trying to get Parliament to make some legislative moves to modernize our libel laws. The biggest aims that I have for the blog are, I really want people to be more aware of the issue, because I know especially issues involving laws and so forth, sometimes maybe only legal-minded people are aware, but the way I write for this blog, I try to write to get the average person interested, something that is very easy to follow and not about a legal jargon. I can read the parliamentary reports. I don't expect the random person at the supermarket to read those reports, but I'd like them to get that information in a way that they can understand and be aware of these issues, because it does affect them. And ultimately, I hope that the blog will help to push forward the movement. The government of Jamaica has said that they want to reform these laws, and they have been working on it since, I told you, I wrote my thesis a year ago, and this issue has been going on forever. A prime minister originally said in his inauguration speech that he would like the libel and slander laws to be modernized, but that was 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm hoping that the blog will also push forward that movement, and if it is happening, it will happen in a way that will benefit the community, and it will happen in a more speedy fashion. I think that there are, for the reason I just stated before, there are lots of things that happen behind the scenes, and a lot of journalists censoring themselves before we even get information. And I think people need to care, because it's knowledge. Like, you want to know what your leaders are doing. When 2 years pass by and you hear that so and so in Parliament did this and everybody's shocked. What if we could have known 2 years before? What if we could have known when it was happening? Maybe we could have, if a journalist would have published it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it does affect people's right to know the information, or people's right to public information, which is very important in any democratic society, especially when we elect our own leaders. So it not just affects the media, but it affects everyone, people that read the newspaper, people that watch the news and so forth. It affects people's right to public information. I have been up to many different things. The thing, especially up until the end of 2010, I was very busy. I've been doing things from guest speaking to public appearances to, or just going invited to launches or things like that. But the great thing about it is every day is very different. And sometimes I might have 3 things to do in one day, and then I might have a day off, and then 4 things to do the next day. So it's been great. And I've gotten a very warm reception from Jamaican people. Toward the end of 2010, I was very excited because I was invited by Jamaica Aid Support for Life to be patron for their children's program, Project Smiles. It was a fantastic experience. I had a really good time working with the children, and this was to benefit children infected and or affected by HIV. But it was just really fulfilling to me. I was also really happy that the U.S. Embassy got involved. The U.S. Ambassador came to visit Jamaica Aid Support for Life, and it was really great working with her for such a worthy cause. I mean, that was a really fulfilling experience, especially on World AIDS Day. I get it's really funny. I get some really overwhelming responses. Sometimes someone will see me on the street and they're just like starstruck, which is interesting because, I just feel like I'm a normal person. Or I get interesting questions like, what's my greatest fear? And then I ask, why would you ask me that? Like, people say, well, we just want to see if you have, real fears like real people. I'm like, so what am I? But no, it's been really great. It's been a very warm reception from people, so it's nice. I'm trying to flesh out all my plans now. I'd like to work with a lot more charities. I really I hope to continue working with Jamaica Aid Support for Life, but I'm really thinking about working with more schools and Jamaica Cancer Society and other things like that. So I'm definitely looking to delve strongly into more charity work.